members, bring inspiration and fresh ideas from all over the world, make an effective contribution to social and economic progress of the region. After over 6 years of activity, the community continues to grow. In recent years, we had the honor to host prominent speakers, such as Emerson Mnangagwa, President of Zimbabwe, Felipe Nyusi, President of Mozambique, Sim Shabalala, CEO of Standard Bank, Akbar Al-Bakr, CEO of Qatar Airways, Simon Baloy, CEO of Sasol, Akin Vumia Desina, President of the African Development Bank, Mark Cutifani, CEO of Anglo-American, Al Cook, CEO of De Beers, Tony Hayward, Chairman of Glencore, Christo Wiese, Jonathan Oppenheimer, and many others. Today, we are particularly proud to welcome President DUMA BOKO, not only as Botswana newly elected president, but as a leading voice for a new chapter of opportunity, inclusion, and resilience for the country and Africa. Botswana stands at a pivotal moment in its history. Last October marked a milestone for democracy with a peaceful transfer of power from the long-standing ruling party to President BOKO and his administration, a commendable achievement on the African continent and a clear sign of institutional maturity. The new leadership has placed human rights, equity, and transparency at the center of its vision, and the international community is watching with admiration and interest. Economically, Botswana has long been a model of prudent fiscal governance and stability, underpinned by strong institutions and effective management of its diamond revenues. And we stand ready, as the European House Ambrosetti, to contribute to the national strategy to diversify its economy. Botswana offers indeed remarkable potential across a range of high-impact sectors. Beyond its world-renowned diamond industry, the country is exceptionally well-positioned to become a regional leader in renewable energy, for example, particularly solar power, thanks to some of the highest solar irradiance levels globally. The agribusiness and agro-processing sectors have strong potential for growth, with the capacity to strengthen both national and regional food security. In addition, Botswana's strong institutional framework and growing digital infrastructure create fertile ground for rapid expansion in the digital economy, fintech, and e-governance, paving the way for smart, inclusive, and technology-driven development. Botswana's story is not one of problems, but one of potential, and the new leadership committed to unlock it. As the European House Ambrosetti, once again, we are proud to be part of this journey, and we reaffirm our commitment to support Botswana and the Southern African region in promoting prosperity, innovation, and global collaboration. On this evolving global scenario, we believe that real and persistent development can be achieved by working together, connecting countries and continents, and tying them to each other, leveraging on the opportunities that dialogue and open collaboration can create. It is with this principle that the European House Ambrosetti works tirelessly to promote partnerships with people, innovation, collaboration, and prosperity at the core. Before I conclude, let me seize this opportunity to thank all the members of the CEO community. Your ongoing support allows moments of cross-borders and cross-industry engagement like this to happen, and I'm glad to have you all on board on this African business journey. And also, I would like to invite you all to attend our flagship conference in the African continent. The 12th CEO Dialogue on Southern Africa will indeed take place in Johannesburg on November 20 and 21st at the Houghton Hotel on the margins of the G20 leaders meeting. Every year, 200 CEOs, heads of multilateral agencies, foundations, economists, ministers, and heads of government participate, and international media cover the event. The mission is to build a community of leaders for growing their enterprises, their countries, and their continents. Needless to say, Mr. President, you are hereby cordially invited to attend as a keynote speaker and a guest of honor. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all a productive and inspiring meeting.
Thank you very much, Pietro, for those remarks. We are now going to get on to the order of the day, and I wouldn't want to delay you by introducing, as they would say, of course, for purposes of protocol and for those that haven't opened their packs, the abridged bio of His Excellency, the President, Mr. DUMA BOKO, who is the current President of the Republic of Botswana, having assumed office on the 1st of November 2024, following the country's historic general elections. He is the first president in the history of Botswana to come from the what was the opposition party. Now, before becoming president, he led the Umbrella for Democratic Change, a coalition of opposition parties, since its formation in 2012, and has served as president of the Botswana National Front since 2010. From October 2014 to August 2019, he served as leader of the opposition in the National Assembly of Botswana. In 2008, he established his own law firm, where he focused on human rights and public interest litigation, among other legal areas. Prior to that, he had a combined academic and legal career from 1993 to 2003, having been a lecturer in law at the University of Botswana while simultaneously practicing as an attorney. Ladies and gentlemen, our president holds a Bachelor of Law, LLB, from the University of Botswana, and a Master of Laws, LLM, from the Harvard Law School, and has published academic work in constitutional law and human rights in Botswana. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming His Excellency, the President, on stage to address us. And he has graciously agreed to give us a few minutes of his time, even though he's got pressing matters urgently to attend immediately after this, but he's graciously agreed he'll make time just to engage with us for a few minutes. And we truly are indebted to you, Mr. President, for having agreed to be with us despite all of those pressing issues. Please welcome the President, and may we rise.
Please be seated. Thank you very much. Let me recognize the Director of Proceedings, I believe you are, but also your substantive role and position. Let me appreciate the presence here of all of you, Chief Executive Officers, representatives of government, and let me thank you for inviting me here today. For an occasion of this nature and importance, my remarks will be uncharacteristically brief, so that I save up some time for a little Q&A at the end. Some engagement, Socratic bouncing of heads and little unnerving and unsettling of each other. Very important. We are, as Botswana, the forum of your gathering today, a country that offers and trades in, most importantly, trust and credibility. The credibility of its institutions, the verve, the vitality and resilience of its people. We are an evolving polity. A country that, as you all know, has constructed its economy predominantly around a single commodity, diamonds. That commodity has carried us this far, enabled us to carry out the development of our country, build infrastructure as best we could in the circumstances. But that commodity is now facing serious challenges. And because our economy is heavily dependent on it, our economy is also deeply challenged as we speak. we have allowed ourselves, on account of the stellar performance of diamonds over the years, to be lulled into a slumber of complacency as a country, where it was business as usual, diamonds would bring the revenue. There would be very little creative and innovative thinking around critical issues that affect the daily lives of our people. At the level of leadership, we've also been trudging along. The thinkers of the country have also, at best, patted themselves on their shoulders and operated within this slumber of conformity that has defined how things have happened in the country. And so, despite the fact that the country has had an entrenched culture of democratic engagement, we have underperformed. These are some of the realities with which we must wrestle, and in order to wrestle with them, we must be honest and upfront about them. So I'm not here to give you a laundered speech. I'm here to challenge you and challenge myself in the process. The relationships that we have operated on over the years have resulted in a disconnection between government and the private sector. The partnerships, if any, have been weak, they have been feeble. And when people gather, as you have gathered now, the gatherings have merely descended into a gracious exchange of flattery, where the private sector flatters government, government flatters the private sector back. I trust and hope that this engagement of yours today is not one such, where we gather only to exchange sentimental platitudes and continue to pat ourselves on the back and go our separate ways and continue to do what we've done. That has not worked. This relationship between government and the private sector that has created this chasm, this yawning gap, has seen over the years what we've called a national development plan or successions of national development plans, which have in truth been government's charter of aspirations without any real concrete deliverables and cognizable ways and strategies of realizing those aspirations. And this is how we've operated over the years. We want to develop the country, we say. We want to improve the lives of our people, operating at the most general of levels. And often when we do this, we flatter ourselves about the current realities. We don't accept and deal with what actually obtains. And so what obtains, as I say, is this divorce between government and the private sector, where the National Development Plan is government's ideas and aspirations, and the private sector is out there doing its own thing. And there are no zones of intersection. There's no intersectionality between the two. But all the while, when you listen to officials speak, what you get is, we want a private sector-led economy. private sector-led economic growth. Where is that? How is it to be achieved if there's this yawning chasm between government and the private sector? If government's charter of aspirations has nothing to do with and has not even engaged that private sector. And so, this is what has typified the terrain. The lay of the land is as I describe it. And I walk into it fully alive to the challenges, the institutional arrangement, and so life goes. The humdrum of routine keeps going. And so we are here to step back in order to step up and redefine the very rules of engagement between government and the private sector, because they have to be rethought, redesigned, refashioned. We need to develop resilient infrastructure in this country. We were exposed very badly by the recent floods in the country, which demonstrated to us that whatever investment we've been putting into infrastructure has not been quite effectively deployed. And the quality of the infrastructure, if any quality there is unable to withstand the vagaries of nature. And nature can be brutal. But many of these vagaries of nature are reasonably foreseeable. Some of them may have struck in the past, and we keep hoping beyond hope that they may not revisit, they may not recur, and they do. And they do with such ferocity that they wake us up from that slumber, they jolt us from the complacency, and then we realize we haven't done what we should have done over the years. That most of the investment that we've plowed in has been wasted and misdirected. And so we need now to reach out to the private sector and find each other so that we truly can pursue private sector-led growth, so that we can get the private sector to deploy its finances, its capital, toward the goal of development, appreciating the unpleasant truth that finance is a bad master. Finance is a terrible master. Left to its own devices, finance for its own sake can actually be very destructive, very exploitative, very predatory. And so we need to deal with finance, understanding that finance must be mobilized in the service of flesh and blood individuals and people, institutions, countries, to facilitate development, not just for its own sake. So these are some of the issues with which we must sometimes honestly deal. And so what is happening now in Botswana, arising from a realization that the way we've configured our institutions, the way we have operated, our modes and patterns of behavior and thought will not get us where we want to get. They won't. And I've said before, I want to say it now, government's biggest problem, and it's huge, government's biggest problem is government itself. You say it privately, when you get here, you flutter. Government's biggest problem is government itself. Because government has a difficulty being agile and responsive. Government is wired in a way that makes it incapable of acting with speed and dispatch, responding to issues in real time. And this has become so routinized, so normalized, it has ossified into a culture in government. So, when you come and you need licensing, you go to a government department, the first thing you will get is either the person who's supposed to respond to your issue is unavailable and may not be available for a long time, or for your license to be issued, there are several layers of bureaucracy through which you must go. And it takes a lot of time we don't have. And this is normal. And when you challenge these, you are told there's a policy, there's a law, this is what has to happen. You can be told in government, you ask, this investor says they can do this and they can start in the next 2 weeks. Can you facilitate? You're told there's a process. It will take a minimum of 2 years to decide whether this is an idea worth pursuing. And that's the law, that's the policy, that's practice. And everybody accepts this. And so part of the reason why it is important in the political history of this country for there to have been this kind of change is that somebody who is irreverent must come in and view all these processes, institutions, and configurations through the prism of an angry outsider. For that's what I have been for a very long time. Engaged, enraged. And when you get in, and you now face these challenges, it behooves you to effect change, and effect it very quickly. You must effect it quickly. You must effect it unapologetically. And that's where we are. That's the moment in time where this country is now. And so part of the reason why I have to rush is because Cabinet is sitting to wrestle with these issues, to try and break free from this frozen crust of bureaucracy, to try and free up government from its own weaknesses and frailties and foibles and fallibilities, so that when we engage with you, the private sector, we can then present to you some dynamism, some agility, some ability to respond in real time to real issues. Operate clock-like, make sure things happen, because that's how the country will develop. So we're challenged in the area of digitalization. We want to digitalize this economy by the end of this year. There's an opportunity for you there, for the private sector, to deploy your resources, because we are challenged in that regard as a country, for the reasons that I've indicated. We've been a monosectoral economy. And with the challenges that we face, we are challenged. And these challenges present immense opportunities for the country. So digitalization, because the diamonds now cannot be relied upon in the manner that we have relied upon them previously or heretofore. We've got to find other means. We've got to be creative. We've got to be innovative. And so we've got to deploy technology, because that is the instrument that will enable us to extend our capabilities and even prolong our lives in the health space and many other spaces, in the financial space. With our credit rating in Africa, there's no reason why we should not be the financial epicenter, if you will, on the African continent. There's no reason why we shouldn't be. And you wonder why we haven't taken strides in this direction so far. So there's a lot that has to be done. It has to be done very quickly. And the private sector is invited to come and play a big role in all this. And so at the end of what Cabinet is doing, and at the end of the next 12 weeks, we will have us a program, very robust, implementation focused, private sector driven, that will take us into the next level. And so I'm here to challenge, to urge you to be part of this. And as a think tank, I'm inviting you to think with us on how some of these trenchant problems can be addressed. And so when I spoke with the folks yesterday, the experts, because we need deep domain expertise as well. We're not going to muddle without data, without compass. I said to them, here's what we have to do. We have to achieve the impossible in no time. Together. And the first you realize when you say it's impossible is because you are looking at things from the boundaries of what is known and what has been done up to now. And looking at the institutions, the behaviors, the legal and policy framework, you realize with this array of ineffectual institutions, we will not achieve this, and therefore it is impossible. You have to make it possible. We must be dreamers of big dreams, dreams of immensity, dreams of intensity. So we're not going to set our targets low so that we can hit them each time without even trying. When you set them so high, they seem impossible. And they force us then to reflect on the institutions we have, the styles of operation that we've pursued, and design totally different, spectacularly different ways of doing things. And that's what the government is called upon to do. That's what the government is presently seized with. And at the end of that process, here's what, if I give you a delicious foretaste of what will happen when you come and you want to engage on any idea or project. You'll get into a room with every person who is even remotely implicated in producing an outcome. You will not be going from office to office. You will get into one office, you will sit with all the people. When you leave that place, you will have the answer. That's what is going to happen at the end of the process that we're on now. So there will no longer be any tossing and tagging. There will be no torsion of any forces and bureaucratic inertia. There will be no such. And so I said to my folks, when you leave this place, the place they are at, where I'm going to join them, you must be transformed yourselves before you can claim to transform anything. So we must die as who we are to be reborn, what we ought to be. If I may put it in remotely religious terms. So, folks, I would like to thank you very much. I did not come here to give an official laundered speech. I came here to engage with you, to challenge, to unsettle you a bit, to urge that now we deploy our intellectual resources and capabilities to solve real problems and position this country to be the very best and to be an exemplar, not just in the SADC region, but also on the African continent. So, with those few feeble remarks, thank you very much for the pleasure of your company and the privilege of your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we get into the Q&A, which is going to be very brief, I have been asked to take this over to you as a small token of appreciation, and thank you for such an insightful and powerful speech and the challenge to these captains of industry in this room here, but also didn't only stop with them, but also challenge your government and committed that you are digging down the hills to make sure that this relationship works. We are truly, truly inspired, Mr. President, and truly grateful for your time. And it reminds me of the saying by one old man who said, after climbing a great hill, one finds that there are more hills to climb. But you only see that once you climb the first. So we wish you well, and we would appreciate the time just to take 3 questions from the floor and allow you to proceed. Yes, just 3 questions, ladies and gentlemen. If I take Mr. Dlamini here, the gentleman there, and the gentleman at the back. Thank you. So if you have a question and you suspect that Mr. Dlamini might not ask, just send him a note, because it's only those 3 that will speak. Those 3 hands. Mr. Dlamini, is there a mic that... let's first see.
In an era marked by climate change, market volatility, biodiversity loss, and persistent food insecurity, it has become clear that business as usual approaches to agriculture are no longer sufficient. Ladies and gentlemen, Our farmers are facing complex and interlinked challenges that demands transformative solutions. This is where agroecology and diversification step in, not just as concept but powerful pathways towards building more sustainable, adaptive, and inclusive